Chairman Splinter, President Hammond Chambers, distinguished guests from around the world, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. A big thanks to the U.S.-Taiwan Business Council for holding this event. I'm greatly honored to give a keynote speech at this 19th U.S.-Taiwan Defense Industry Conference, and I will take this opportunity to elaborate on my perspective of the Republic of China ROC National Defense Policy for you. Ever since the first U.S.-Taiwan Defense Industry Conference held in 2002, many people from all walks of life have recognized the importance of this meeting. And I was very happy to visit the U.S. and attend the last years in the capacity of KMT legislator. Although this year's conference, due to the coronavirus pandemic, is online, I am convinced that through communication and dialogue, our conference will still produce abundant value. To that end, I will now share my views on the KMT's analysis of the present situation in the South China Sea and the Taiwan Strait, as well as the challenges that the ROC faces in developing our military combat readiness and developing an elite and agile ROC armed forces. As the adversity between mainland China and the U.S. intensifies, the global trend seems to be of a return to a Cold War geopolitical framework. Furthermore, these two sides have recently conducted military operations with increasing daily frequency in the South China Sea and the Taiwan Strait areas. The risk of conflict continues to rise. Regarding the complex situation in the South China Sea, the KMT calls upon all relevant parties to exercise self-control and to consider bringing in the ROC for formal consultations. Otherwise, the issue of sovereignty in the South China Sea will become even more difficult to resolve. The position of the KMT is based on history, geography, and international law. The Spratly Islands, Paracel Islands, Macclesfield Bank, Pratas Island, and their surrounding waters are all inherently ROC territory and territory waters. According to international maritime law, Taiping Island is defined as a naturally formed island, so it exerts a 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone in the waters surrounding it. The South China Sea arbitration case denies the legal status of Taiping Island. However, as the ROC is not a party to this arbitration case, this result is not legally binding on the ROC. With regard to the security of the Taiwan Strait, the KMT has long opposed any and all Chinese Communist Party military operations that threaten Taiwan, including aircraft and warships crossing the Taiwan Strait median line. This type of behavior not only threatens the security of Taiwan and increases the risk of unintentional cross-strait conflict, but worse, it destroys the peace and stability of the entire Asia-Pacific or Indo-Pacific region. This type of behavior is absolutely unnecessary. I call on the authority in Beijing to not employ military force when handling affairs related to Taiwan. Only in this way can we reduce the probability that conflict breaks out. At the same time, the authority in Beijing should squarely face the existence of the ROC since 1912. Only through peaceful interaction, mutual respect, as well as seeking common ground while putting aside differences, are we able to progressively accumulate basic cross-strait mutual trust. Only after we obtain this mutual trust can we lay a solid foundation of cross-strait interaction. For the sake of averting a cross-strait war, as the KMT chairman, I believe that, in addition to making an attempt at improving cross-strait political relations, we must also eliminate Beijing's military optimism. I firmly believe by developing resolute and substantial ROC military capability, we can compel Beijing to cautiously weigh the consequence of employing military force so that it will be less likely to recklessly initiate war. This is also peace through strength. However, here I also call on the Democratic Progressive Party, DPP government to do the following two things: to abide by the ROC Constitution, and to avert a vicious cross-strait spiral into conflict by seeking for cross-strait dialogue. Many people say that the U.S. is just using Taiwan as a pawn in its Indo-Pacific strategy, or as negotiating leverage against the Beijing authorities. I sincerely hope this is not the case. The ROC and the U.S. fought side by side in both world wars. We then prevent communist power from expanding past the first island chain, defending it together. In terms of the security in the Taiwan Strait, our relationship should be that of collaborating partners. Furthermore, in addition to continuous supplies of necessary weapons systems in accordance with the Taiwan Relation Act, the U.S. should employ diplomatic means to reduce the motivation for Beijing authorities to resolve the cross-strait issues with force. This will also be conducive to the stability and the development of the Asia-Pacific or Indo-Pacific region. Looking towards the future, the complex relationship of the competition and cooperation between the U.S. and mainland China will persist. However, if both sides of the Taiwan Strait can resume mutual trust and dialogue to a certain extent, then both Taiwan-U.S. relations and cross-strait relations can remain mutually inclusive. And furthermore, the close to the U.S., peace with the mainland strategy of the previous KMT government can also be somehow applied. I still remember, during the 1996 Taiwan Strait missile crisis, I just so happened to be serving as a flagman at the Quemoy. So I know from my personal experience the thin line between peace and war. We are not afraid of war, but we cannot bear to see innocents sacrificed for its sake. Therefore, under my leadership, the KMT will spare no effort in making the defense of our sovereignty our responsibility, and in making the defense of Taiwan's safety our mission. For the sake of national security and cross-strait peace, to prevent the reappearance of the war, the KMT is willing to serve as the canary in the coal mine. We remind the risk of conflict in the Taiwan Strait in order to let the people be alert to the misery of war. I would like to reiterate that as long as Beijing refuses to renounce the use of military force against Taiwan, we in Taiwan will always be under military threat, regardless of how cross-strait relations develop. In accordance with the mainstream opinion in Taiwan, the KMT advocates for improvement of cross-strait relations, while at the same time never underestimating the threat that the strength of the People's Liberation Army PLA pose for Taiwan. In the past few years, the aggregate power of mainland China has increased rapidly, increasing and diversifying the military threats Taiwan faces. In cross-strait relations, we must pay close attention to the following 2 points. First, the continuous increase in capacity of the PLA, and the second, the cyber warfare that is usually invisible. I also want to note, since June of these years, the PLA's military activities near Taiwan have rapidly increased in terms of frequency and intensity. Under the circumstances, the ROC Armed Forces now face a lot of major challenges. I will just name a few of them. First, our defense budget is limited. Although the ROC's defense budget totals 367 billion NT dollars in 2021, but only 197 billion NT dollars will actually be allocated to military strength and preparedness programs. However, it is difficult for our government to increase the defense budget in the short run due to the physical constraints. Second, because our military's primary battle equipment still consume a large amount of manpower to maintain outdated equipment, our armed forces is thus compelled to waste a large chunk of budget. So the new systems are unable to be employed effectively. This causes even more difficulties as the ROC Armed Forces tries to update its network-centric warfare capabilities. Third, our reserve forces are not up to snuff, and they lack of qualified and specialized officers. If conflict erupts in the Taiwan Strait, under the current circumstances of limited early warning and expected range of attack covering the entire island, we will not have sufficient time and sufficient secure space to complete preparation of the majority of our reserve for battle. Fourth, the militaries on both sides of the strait lack an incident prevention mechanism. Therefore, there is a likelihood of accident even in the peacetime. Unfortunately, because the two militaries lack communication mechanism and standards for preventing unintentional incidents, not only does the ROC Armed Forces war preparation pressure increase, but the opportunity to eliminate the chance of a minor incident escalating into a larger conflict is impossible. It is even possible that a small incident will result in a major crisis that Taipei, Washington, and Beijing neither are difficult to predict nor want to meet. In order to address the above threats and challenges, I believe, in terms of national defense, the most important goal of the ROC government consists of developing an elite and agile ROC Armed Forces. Here are my 4 points. First, we must strengthen the capacity of the ROC Armed Forces to counter the CCP's internet and telecommunication warfare. The ROC Armed Forces should continue to not only improve its ability to protect the security of information, but it must also try to advance its ability to engage in cyber warfare. Second, we must improve the capabilities of our reserve forces. What can we do? Number one, we need to increase the number of standing military officers. Number two, we need to reduce the number of backup reserve units in order to concentrate resources to better the effectiveness of the reserve forces' command, control, communication, computers, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance systems. We also need to amend relevant laws to authorize our executive branch to implement advanced mobilization under certain unusual circumstances. Third, we must pursue steady growth of the defense budget. I have always advocated the maintenance of necessary national defense capabilities to promote peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait. In order to achieve this goal, we must rely on a steady and well-planned and cost-effective defense budget. Furthermore, the government needs to envision the defense budgeting circumstances over the next 10 years and the suitable program for each and every combat readiness operation. Also, in order to improve the efficiency of national defense expenditures, we should require that the Defense Ministry periodically introduce innovative warfare concepts and practices. Fourth, we must continue to strengthen military exchange between the ROC and the United States. My suggestions are as follows. Number one, expanded bilateral intelligence cooperation. In addition to improving the ROC Armed Forces' early warning and missile defense capabilities, this can increase our military's grasp of PLA tactics, training, unit assignments, and the new equipment. Number two, continued sales of weapons, equipment, and technologies. Through these sales, the ROC Armed Forces is able to more easily improve its ability to conduct network-centric warfare, beyond visual range warfare, joint air defense operation, joint separation warfare, joint intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, and other fields of warfare. Number three, relaxation of the rank restrictions on bilateral high-level military and civilian official exchange visit. As everyone here knows, the security challenges we face have never disappeared. We here on Taiwan have experienced several cross-strait military clashes, and we are now once again met with a pivotal time period in both cross-strait relations and the U.S. mainland China relations. For the sake of stable cross-strait relations and the persistent reinforcement of our self-defense capabilities, we hope to obtain the understanding and the support of our U.S. friends, so that together we can put forth every effort to guarantee peace, stability, and prosperity in the region. On behalf of the KMT, I hope that the 19th U.S.-Taiwan Defense Industry Conference proceeds productively and successfully, and that I will be able to meet you either in Taiwan or in the United States as soon as possible. Thank you very much.